Well, we'll go ahead and continue on our Atheist Sunday School, Lesson 6, favorite Bible chapters, Hebrews 12. Introduction. The entire chapter deals with a race. The Apostle Paul was obviously interested in running of a race. He likens the Christian life to a race, its beginning, running, and finishing. For the study of this chapter, we will be interested in the race. 1. The spectators, Hebrews 12:1. Of course, you go to KingJamesBibleOnline.org if you want to see the verses. Hebrews 12:1, notice the words, "Wherefore seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses." These witnesses are the spectators in the grandstand. The representative group is listed in Hebrews 11. The Apostle Paul likens the Christian life to a race. The runners are on the track. The spectators are in the grandstand. The Old Testament saints listed in chapters 11 are watching us as we perform and run the race. The word wherefore in Hebrews 12 connects the two chapters. Wherever wherefore is mentioned, it means something has gone before. It is connecting word. Hence, chapters 11 and 12 go together. They could have been one chapter. Those of you who know that when the Bible was first written, it wasn't actually broken down into chapters and verses. I'm sure a lot of you guys noticed. I think it was in the 15th century or 16th century, some priest or monk or whatever the hell decided to do it. Noah, Hebrews 11:7. Imagine how Noah feels when he looks down and sees us not standing alone for Christ and not being willing to stand by ourselves. B. Abraham, Hebrews 11:8. Abraham left his home and everything he had. He was willing to murder his own son, his kindred, his family, his race, to look for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. He gave up everything for the will of God. Think how he must feel when he looks down from heaven and sees us not willing to give up things for God and not willing to do God's will. Let's always be careful to realize that Abraham is watching us while we run our race. See, Moses, Hebrews 11:23. Moses could have been the king of Egypt. I don't think so. Now, please do me a favor, if you get a chance, look up the term Mott, M-A, and then, the apostrophe A-T, comma, whatever the hell. I always forget these things sometimes. But look up that term, and you'll see why Moses could never actually ever be the Pharaoh or king, and why that story of Benjamin and being the second in command and all that stuff. If you look at the term Mott and understand it, which would be easy to understand, you'll see why that's not possible. He chose rather to suffer affliction with God's people. He counted those greater riches than all the treasures of Egypt. As we are prone to gather riches and wealth, let us think of the fact that Moses watches us from the heavenly grandstand. Is he proud of us when we want fame, popularity, power, authority, and money? Moses is watching us as we try to garner things for ourselves. All these things that's just mentioned, the only thing I care about is money. I mean, who in their right mind wants to live like this? The Joshua. Hebrews 11:30. What faith Joshua had as he slaughtered innocent people. What faith Joshua had as he watched the walls of Jericho fall. When our faith is weak, we should stop to realize that the great man of faith Joshua is watching us. When we had battles to fight, we should be reminded that Joshua was in the grandstand. Yeah, the man who slaughtered a bunch of people just to steal their land. The man who enslaved and basically sold women into prostitution, if you really think about it. After all, take them for your wives. Do you think those women were willing? Gideon, Hebrews 11:32. Gideon was not afraid of the mighty armies of the enemy. When we fear, let's remember that Gideon is watching us from the grandstand. Jephthah, the guy who basically sacrificed his daughter. Hebrews 11:32. Jephthah had promised God that if he gave him a victory in battle, he would sacrifice to God. The first thing that came walking out of the door of his house when he got home from battle, to his great surprise, it was not an animal. It was his daughter. Well, technically, humans are animals. If you don't believe that, look how people react. Humans react to fear the same way animals do. That's why we have all this racism and hatred and all this filth. That's why we have these social justice warriors and all these people. They act on their emotions. The issue, whether or not he should have killed his daughter, is not the issue. Of course, you're going to try to say that. The issue is when we make promises to God, we are expected to keep them. For example, when we promise God we will tithe and do not keep that promise, Jephthah the great promise keeper is watching us from the heavenly grandstand. It is a serious and dangerous thing for us not to keep our vows to God. Of course, Jephthah could have redeemed his daughter. The Old Testament tells you about redemption, how you redeem somebody. So Daniel, Hebrews 11:33. Notice the word stop the mouths of lions. When we do not stand for Christ as Daniel did, when we are not willing to pray and take our stand, Daniel watches us and must lament our compromising. Considering the fact that most of these theists now pretty much get slaughtered against intelligent atheists, no wonder a lot of them tend to keep their mouths shut. Let's always be mindful of the fact that Daniel is in the grandstand watching us. To the clothing for the race. We are to lay aside every weight. Hebrews 12:1. A person who runs a race does not run with weights on his feet, nor does he wear heavy shoes and an overcoat. He strips down the bare essentials, for he does not want to have heavy weights stop him as he runs. There is nothing wrong with the overcoat, except that it is not good for a race. There's nothing wrong with wearing heavy garments, but heavy garments will not help us win the race. There are things that are not sinful in themselves, but Christians cannot do them if they want to run the race profitably and win the race for God. Now, if they use that as why Christians shouldn't drink, that would make sense. But say, well, you can't drink because it's a sin, that's just stupid, because the Bible never says drinking is a sin. Just being drunk is a sin, like gluttony is a sin. It always mentions gluttony and drunkenness together, almost always. But then again, since there's no such thing as a God, I don't think we got to worry about it. We are to lay aside every sin. Hebrews 12:1. The runner who wins the race has certain training habits. He cannot smoke or drink. Certain things that would shorten his breath and cause him not to win the race are things he cannot do. That means we are to lay aside every sin, realizing we are watched from heaven by Jesus and all of the saints that have gone before us. See, we are to run the race with patience. It means we are not to give up. This does not mean we are to slow down and be slowly patient. If we are behind, we are to try harder and stretch more. We could never give up in the race. 3. The starter and the finisher of the race. Hebrews 12:2. Notice the words, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. This is likened to the man who stands with the gun and pulls the trigger for the starting of the race. Jesus is the starter of the race. No one can begin the race unless he is at the right starting point. Notice that Jesus is also the finisher. We have to keep our eyes on him. When a racer runs, he is not supposed to look back or look to the side. He has to keep his eyes on the finish line. Jesus is the finisher. If we keep our eyes on Jesus, we can win the race for the chastising. Hebrews 12:3-15. If we do not run the race well, we are chastised. God loves us and chastises us if we don't do his will. Stay in the race and run it well. And of course, if you get a chance to read that, these verses about chastising, it's can be kind of gruesome. Conclusion: the race, a grandstand, and spectators appeal to children and young people especially, for they are all concerned with athletic contests. Then a person who played on a team and graduated from high school goes to watch this year's team play. Why not don't do anything for science or education? No, it's just all sports, especially in the United States. This is what the Bible is teaching. Well, he once played, but now he's in the grandstand. He's the alumnus of the institution. This is what the Bible is teaching. Those who have lived and died in Christ have run the race. Now they join the Grandstand Alumni Association and are watching us run. Let us do our best to run the race effectively for God. Memory verse 12:1. Wherefore seeing us also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Now, of course, I'm going to add something. Those of you who ever go to the gym, you notice some of the irritating things you see at the gym. Like if you're short, you'll notice that if you lift weights more than some of the bigger guys, and you do it now without struggle or anything, they get kind of pissed. And if you do, my favorite is the pull-ups. You do pull-ups, and you can do a lot more than these big guys with muscles or tall or anything. Well, it's because you're small. You got smaller muscles. You'll hear that crap. Like, dumbass, I got smaller muscles too. So I obviously would have as hard a time doing this as you should be. I can do it just because I have more upper body strength for my size than you do for your size. If we were the same size, I would be stronger than you. So get over yourself. You'll notice that, especially like if you're in high school, you go to, you take weightlifting classes and stuff like that. Guys get really pissy when they see smaller guys lifting more than them. It's like, for you taller guys, you see these short guys, I call them little chihuahua guys. They get overly aggressive over the stupidest things. It's like, damn, just calm the hell down. And like some of these whack job females, you're just jogging, mind your own business, and they call you idiot or stupid or anything like that because, for whatever reason, because you're carrying something with you as a defense. You know, like for example, as I showed in the video, I carry something like this. They get kind of mad. They think I'm going to hit some damn dog in a fence. No, I'm not. If that dog gets out of the gate and tries to attack me, then yes, I will defend myself. But then no, I'm not hitting a dog. I don't care that it tries to jump. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I love how they do that, and they always hide. They're always with men to defend them, or around other people to defend them, or they're at a distance. Those loudmouth females. It's like with guys, they get mad if a woman won't go out with them. Oh, they're bitches, they're whores. Oh, shut the hell up and get over yourself. Okay, they don't like you. Get over it. I mean, look at me. I'm poor as hell. I mean, I'm freaking poor. I'm ugly. I'm balding. I'm getting old now. I'm in my freaking 40s. I mean, come on. I have no chance at anything. You don't see me hating women because there's no point. Oh, well, that's it.